it was a bit of a tough record to make. Once we were in the studio, it was never tough.
Oh, okay.
The circumstances leading up to it, the climate of the country, the emotional climate, it was a year of seeing extrajudicial murders of Black men, in America. So it was where a lot of the attention of all that was really coming into the consciousness of everybody's purview, not just the people who were affected in just those communities who traditionally were the ones who saw it, but it never really got exposed to the larger group of people. There's this huge divide and separation between the reality of the way the power structure works in America and the perception of the way it works for a lot of people, even people who consider themselves liberals and consider themselves good people. And so it was a year that we were all being exposed in a real way because of social media and because of the advent of technology, a dark and sad and disturbing reality, I think, just at a more rapid pace than any other previous year. And again, because of the confluence of technology, that was what made the difference. It's not that this was a different type of year. It's that it was a different type of exposure. And even for people who are used to it, experienced it, and do not have any delusions or illusions about the scenario, traditionally, still being exposed to it on that level. I remember when you were a kid, man, you had to go rent Faces of Death to see someone die.
Right, right.
That was like a big deal.
Yeah, that shit fucked me
Oh
up.
shit, some dude just parachuted into a fucking,
Into the
some
concrete.
dude just parachuted into like a pond with a gator in it. That's crazy. Why did I watch that? That's horrible. It was the idea of a snuff film was about as mythical and disturbing as you could possibly imagine. Fast forward to 2016, and the snuff film had become a part of our daily routine.
Right.
So not only for people like me who are not directly in the community of people that are being affected or who are being murdered, but also for Mike, who's fucking of the community, of the skin color, of the exact specifications of the people that are being murdered and filmed being murdered. And we're watching these clips over and over and over again. In the meantime, you've got this fucking piece of shit, wannabe dictator, fascist pig gaining momentum in the political sphere. All of the discourse and all of the confusion and all of the pain of that year, it made it hard for us to even get together sometimes. Mike would just be like, yo, man, I can't even do this right now. And I would just be like, I get it. All right. I'll continue working on this music. And when you're ready, you come and we'll work. And so I think you could hear it in the record. It really did affect us. And I think that we just allowed it to. And I think that more than any other record that we had done up until this point, there was a sadness to this record. There had never really been sadness in Run the Jewels, because it wasn't a naturally occurring thing, for us yet as a group and as maybe even as friends. We had found ourselves in the crosshairs of what was happening. We were in St. Louis the day the verdict came down. The Mike Brown verdict came down. We played a show that night. That was the first time that I felt it, where it was like every artist who was performing in St. Louis was getting out of St. Louis. We were headed into St. Louis, into the eye of the hurricane. That was the first time that I felt that Run the Jewels was caught up somehow, not purposefully, but that we were somehow riding this wave of feeling and of history and of something, that we were there. We were being positioned through randomness and through serendipity almost, to have to say something, to have to represent something, in the face of this stuff. And me and Mike are men. We're not kids trying to just get famous here. We've been around for a minute. We have ideas. We have ideals that we have fought hard for, and that we knew ourselves pretty well and what we meant to each other. And we started, I think, to realize what we might mean to people who supported us and the people who see a Black man and a white man on stage every night being friends with no explanation, with no pretense. It all just fed into our emotion and our thoughts about all this. We were right there in our heads. We were incapable of ignoring it. So when this record came about and we made this record, I think that we just allowed ourselves to feel it. And I think that I found myself creating more moody soundscapes for this record. I think that we kind of just went there. It wasn't just about making bangers, and we did make a lot of bangers, but there was another element of this thing that just naturally needed to happen for this record. And the reality of it is that that's not necessarily a surefire bet.
Right.
Going back to what you were saying, it's one thing to make a bunch of bangers that people are just like, hey, across the board, whatever you're feeling, you like a great beat and style, and it's just, and that energy is there and it's dependable, and it's outside of the spectrum of politics. It's outside of the spectrum of you having to define yourself. It's just something we can all agree on. It's a banger. We took the risk a little bit of just saying, you know what, we do actually stand for something.
Right.
We do actually believe something.
And you feel some kind of way about what's happening in the world.
We feel some kind of way about what the fuck is happening in a real way. And we're going to risk being a bit genuine about it. We're going to risk we're going to take a little bit of the tongue out of our cheek here and risk exposing our hearts a little bit here. And that is a risk, because some people just don't want to hear that shit. Like, it can be overbearing. Sincerity can be a lot. When someone's really genuine about something, it either connects with you or you're not in the mood to hear that shit. That was the vibe of the record. I think that was the truth of where we were at.
Stony Island Audio.